excited about you and your future. I'm excited about what you're going to do in your life. And I'm excited about this opportunity. You know, the more that I'm around our company, our leaders, the people running our company at the home office, the more sold I am that this is the only place you want to be in American business. And so I'm excited to go through with you just some thinking. I believe that this is going to put inside of you exactly what you need to be able to recruit anybody, anywhere, at any time. Because this is the greatest business in American business by a mile. And I'm going to share that with you. We're going to go through and we're going to expose some of the myths out there. And so I want you to not just listen to what I'm saying, but I want you to understand conceptually why this is. We're going to go through a bunch of stuff. And when you leave here tonight, you're going to have a ton of confidence to talk to anybody, okay? So I want you to think about this and the main difference in how we earn money. Active revenue versus passive revenue. Active revenue is where you go to work for money. You're on a salary, you're on a commission, you're on an hourly rate. You're trading time for money. And you all have seen the cash flow quadrant made popular by Robert Kiyosaki, 4 ways to make money. You can be an employee who trades time for money, works for somebody else. The problem is there's a limit based on the time. You can't earn more than the amount of time you have to put in. The only way you earn more is more dollars per hour or more hours out. And so you've heard me say before, when you trade time for money, you're always going to be short of one. Isn't that true, right? Okay, or you could be self-employed, you own a job. So you don't have a boss, you're your own boss, but you still trade time for money. Okay, a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, they're trading time for money, getting a little bit more than an employee, but they're still not free, right? Business owners and investors are people who have delineated their time from their money. They have figured out how to get income without having to trade the time for it, and that equals freedom. Okay, so I want you to look at this. Let's talk about active revenue generating, because you can actively generate revenue here, right? You could go out, you could sit down with a client yourself, you could help them become a client, and you can make money by spending your time. Yes or yes, right? So take a look at this. In the U.S. right now, there's approximately 2 million attorneys in the United States. There's approximately 1 million doctors in the United States. This takes somewhere between 4 and 10 years of schooling, right, at a cost of somewhere between $50,000 and $200,000 for the schooling to go become one of that, and that's your competition. 2 million other attorneys, 1 million other doctors. But take a look at this. If you're going to actively generate revenue with your own pen, the place to be is in financial services. Take a look at this. Only 285,000 financial advisors, 50% of those are over the age of 55. What's going to happen in the next 10 years to that industry? There's going to be a massive shortage in the ability to provide financial advice to the middle class because half of them are retiring. Okay? 100,000 of them plan to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. That's from Investment News. Right? So stop and think about the opportunity that's there just from actively generating revenue, right? Okay, but stop and think about this. Passive revenue is money working for you or people working for you. That's how you get money without having to trade time for it. So take a look at a couple of these opportunities, right? So if you're talking about passive income opportunities that are out there right now, one of the most popular is franchising. Right? I'm just going to buy a franchise. I'm going to buy a Subway, a McDonald's, a Culver's. You know, I have a guy that owns a couple Culver's as a client. And at Culver's, in order for you to be a franchisor, you have to work at least 40 hours in the Culver's. Isn't that crazy? Right? So you could buy the business, but in most franchises, you've got to work the business. So what did you do? You just bought a job. You bought a job at a big, hefty price tag. Okay, and here's the other thing that we're noticing more and more. I go to Tim Hortons every morning, right? And so there's a Tim Hortons on Dixie Highway. It's owned by a family. And the young guy who's one of the owners, they've got like 4 or 5 restaurants, y'all. And out on the counter, I see his real estate card. And I'm like, this guy owns like 5 Tim Hortons. What's he doing selling real estate? It's like, well, you only make about 50 grand a restaurant, and there's a bunch of us as partners, so I need to make some extra money. I'm like, you got 5 Tim Hortons, right? How do you need to make extra money? But then I went and did a little research, and watch this, okay? This was out of Washington Post. Business ownership on the side, franchisees keeping their day jobs. And I read an entire article about people that are professionals, they're engineers, they're whatever they do corporately. They go into massive, massive debt, some of them, to get a franchise, and then they still can't get out of their job because the franchise doesn't make enough money. Any of you ever heard of Big B Coffee? Remember those? Right? I show up to them to do appointments sometimes and they ain't there no more. Right? I'm like, what happened to this? Right? Because they can't, even the franchise is not lucrative enough these days, at this day and age, to get somebody out of their main job. So they're working a job, and then they bought another job, put a lot of capital at risk, and they're still not able to get free. That's what's happening in franchising right now, okay? So listen, is franchising an opportunity? Maybe. But even if you worked with McDonald's, stop and think about this. If you own a McDonald's, you'd make between $100,000 and $180,000 a year net profit off your McDonald's. Folks, that would be a 70% pay cut for me to own a McDonald's, right, okay? And it would cost between $1 million and $2 million to buy it, and it would take 2 years, right? And then you'd have to smell like French fries and chicken nuggets all the time, okay? So stop and think about agency models. You see a lot of people out there, I'm gonna go into real estate, right? I'm gonna be my own independent insurance agent, right? And they have an agency model, and they think, well, I own a business, okay? But watch this. Yeah, you kind of do, but stop and think about this. In an agency model, right? If you're in real estate, if you're in insurance, if you're in investments, in any sort of agency model, watch this. To expand your revenue, you need to make more sales of whatever you're selling, right? And so to make more sales of whatever you're selling, you need more people to be selling whatever you're selling, right? If you're in real estate, you need more what? Realtors, right? Okay, well, the problem with that is you got to put them somewhere. So every time you try to expand your revenue to make more money, you got to expand what? Your expenses to put the people somewhere, right? Okay? So you're an independent insurance agent. If you're smart, you'll recruit some people, okay? But you can't recruit too many because they don't fit in your office. So you got to, every time that you go to expand your ability to make money, you also expand the risk that you have out there. Everybody understanding that? Okay, so that's a limit. That's a limit, because if every time I can try to make more, I've got to pay more, that's going to slow your growth down. The second thing is limited ownership in these models create adverse competition. Watch this. So Tara, stand up. Gina, stand up. So Tara is the real estate broker with her company here, Remax, right? And Gina is her superstar agent. Turn around and say hi to them, okay? Hi. So Gina's killing it. And so Tara, she kind of has, any of you try to recruit like a real estate broker, they're like, well, I can recruit people and I can override. Kinda, watch. So Gina makes sales, and part of her comp goes to Tara, because Tara owns, you can turn around and face them, right? So you're not staring at your butt the whole time, okay? So she makes sales, right? And she gets a cut as the broker. It's called a broker's override. And so she'd be smart to get some more realtors, because every time they're making a sale, she's making some money. But watch this. How many brokers of that office are there allowed to be? How many people can own that real estate franchise? One. She's the only owner. So her worst nightmare is find Gina and teach Gina all the tricks of the trade. Right? She's going to teach Gina all the tricks of the trade, and Gina's killing it out there. She's hustling, she's selling houses, she's making money, and pretty soon Gina starts wising up. Say, wait a sec, I'm doing all the work. Why am I giving a piece to her? Why don't I just go and become my own broker with Remax, which, by the way, listen, the company Remax wants her to do. It's in the company's best interest that she train up people and lose them direct to the company. Folks, that's replacement, right? Remax got replacement going on, okay? Except you give, but you never get, right, okay? So watch what happens here. So she goes and she becomes Tara. She becomes the broker, right? Because she wants to own. She can't own in the agency model without leaving the person who found her and trained her. Can't be two owners. So guess what Tara did? Not only did she put time, effort, and energy out, not only did she just lose all the income associated with this realtor, but now she created her own competition. Because this isn't a realtor that's helping her anymore. This is a realtor that's fighting her for deals. Does this make sense? It's the same thing. Well, I'm going to be an independent agent. That sounds like a nightmare. Because the worst thing you could ever do is find a John Cooper. The worst thing you could ever do is find a Jordan Burns, because they're going to hustle you for everything you know, right? And then go and leave and move 2 doors down and start competing against you. And you're going to do this, what? Over and over and over again for the rest of your life, because anybody worth their salt wants to own. Yes or yes? They want to own. We don't want to rent. Everybody gets ownership when it comes to where they live, right? Same monthly payment, rent or own, you would own. Right? Same monthly payment, rent or own, you'd own a car. Right? Same thing with their work. If they're worth it, they're going to own. They're going to own. And there's no opportunity for layers of ownership in any form of an agency model. Does everybody understand that? Well, that's limited, right? That's limited. That means you're going to keep, if you're the owner, you're going to keep putting out work, but you're never going to have a permanent residual income from that. You're going to have a temporary residual income. Give them a hand for that, okay? The other problem with an agency system is there's no exponential growth. There cannot be exponential growth because there's limits to the people that can own, right? So Tara's the real estate broker. She recruits Gina, the agent. But Gina doesn't really get nothing for recruiting Catania, and Catania doesn't really get anything for recruiting Rhonda. They only pay 1 or maybe 2 levels of override. Well, the problem is, then you go 2 people, and the recruiting stops. Right? Does that make sense? So the recruiting's got to happen within this small group of people, whereas here you can get somebody who gets somebody who gets somebody who gets somebody. It was so interesting. The company just came out with a new tool for RVPs where they could see all the recruits in their base shop that have not that are about to take a licensing class. And so I went and got out and I started sending some of them some text. I could not believe the area codes. I'm like, where are all these people? I didn't know half the area codes. They're in different states. But these are people getting recruited into my deal from somebody I don't even know who recruited them in some state in the middle of nowhere, right? That is magic. Yes or yes, right? People who get people who get people who get people is what we want. And so that never happens in an agency model. You're limited by the amount of people that can be recruited and the amount of level of override that gets paid on that. So what about multi-level marketing? Right? If you want a residual income, you could be in multi-level marketing. So take a look at this. This is the earnings disclosure of probably the largest multi-level marketing presence in this area. Some of their top people live around here. I'm not going to disclose their name because this is going out on Facebook Live everywhere and I know them, okay? But watch this. This is what I did. I went and looked at it. Now, I want to show you the numbers. Here's the problem with MLM. There's really nothing to own. There's nothing to own. You recruit a structure, but that structure just selling bullcrap to people, right? Okay, a falsified need product, right? Like how many of you buy $200 bottles of Miracle Juice like at the supermarket just for fun? Brother. That's like your current purchase. Okay? How many of you buy way overpriced skincare, right, regimens at the store all the time? Right? One of you. Okay, thanks, Bridget. Right, okay. Right? But yet their entire business model is predicated on massive amounts of people buying this bull crap. Right? Does that make sense? And so here's what happens in normal MLM. You get in, and they pay a fee to get in. We pay a fee to get in, right? What is that for? A license. You understand it costs money to send you to class? There's a human being here teaching you. How did that happen? They paid them. There's an office that you're sitting in for 2 days. What happened? They paid them. You got to show up and take a test. What happened? They paid them, right? Well, what do all these fees for multi-level marketing go to? They ain't getting a license, right? What are they buying? Their starter kit, right? Okay, their starter kit. So guess what? When I recruit Melissa, yeah, I don't get money to recruit her, but she got to buy the starter kit, which pays me, the recruiter, money. Right? And the only people in the deal in MLM that are buying the product are who? The people in the pyramid. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so there's nothing to own there because it's an internal consumption. There's no real marketable product. Nobody is buying the MLM crap out there as a retail customer. Okay? It's highly unstable because most of the product is internally consumed. What does that mean? It's only being sold to the people in the deal. Well, what happens? The people at the bottom of the deal end up with garages full of juice, and they can't sell the stuff. So guess what they do? They quit the business. Why? Because the business is costing them $200 a month to auto ship juice. Right? Okay, so guess what happens? When they start quitting the business, what also goes away?
The juice sales.
The juice sales. The people at the bottom stop buying the juice. So the people up the line start making what? Less and less money. And so then the middle level stop buying the juice. And then the whole thing goes. That makes sense? Any of you ever had an agent quit here?
Yes.
Okay, great. And how about you? You went out, you field trained them, you sold to a cousin, an aunt, and uncle. How many of you ever had an agent quit here, but then the business you did with them, it actually stuck, right? It stayed on the books. Why? Because people buy life insurance whether or not somebody that's in it is in a multi-level marketing structure. Does everybody understand that? There are millions and tens of millions of people this year who are going to buy your product whether they buy it from you or not. Everybody understand that? So this is a marketable product that people are actually buying in the marketplace right now as we speak and can sustain itself without the recruits buying their own product. That makes sense? I'm not going to embarrass you, but I'd be willing to bet half the room here does not own a product with us. And you probably should, but you're not required to, right? And that's why this is not that. Do you understand that? Nobody said, hey, here's your IBA, plus you have to have a $100 a month life insurance policy or you can't be in. Right? Does that make sense? So watch this. Here's the benefit. All right? I can look at Josue and I can say, Josue, stay in the business. Keep going. You're going to learn. And you know what? I actually mean it because I ain't getting a nickel from Josue. I'm not saying that to him so he keeps buying, so I keep getting paid. If he doesn't make sales to retail consumers, he and I ain't getting anything. Right? Does that make sense? So stop and look at this. This is their earnings disclosure. So this is on paid consultants, okay? So there were 300,000 recruits in this business. About 165,000 of them were paid consultants. What does that mean? The company paid them a check of at least 1 cent, okay? 165,000 people last year. Take a look at this. So over 500,000, 0.04% make that. Over 250,000, 0.07, and over 100,000, 0.17. So if you look at that, 0.28% make 100,000 plus. Well, there's 165,000 people. 0.28%, there's 400 people in the whole deal. 462, and I don't know what just happened there. Y'all can get that. Oh, there we go. Okay. 462 people out of 165,000 people that got to buy something every month. 462 of them make 100 grand plus a year. Okay, what's that look like, y'all?
Zero.
Right, okay? That's what it looks like. So take a look. Why is Primerica so awesome? Number one, there's a lot of very successful people here. 6,000 people out of 120,000 that have a license making 50,000 plus a year. Of those 6,000, 3,000 of them are making at least 100,000 per year. Okay, so what was their percentage? Anybody remember over 100,000? 0.28. Okay, so what are we, about 10 times? Right, does that make sense? About 2.8% of our licensed sales force makes 100,000. But this isn't like licensed. These are people who made sales, right? Who made money. You take that out on our end, at least half the sales force doesn't make one sale in a year. They're licensed, and any of you have a licensed person that you ain't seen in a while? Okay, right? Yeah, we count those. They ain't even being counted. 82 of those people make at least $1 million plus a year, right? So what's your odds of making a six-figure income in a network marketing business? Math, straight up math, are 10 times better here than anywhere else. That thing I showed you, in my opinion, is the most profitable, largest commission-paying MLM that exists right now in the United States, right? And we have 10 times better odds that you're going to earn $100,000 plus a year here. That's a big deal, right? So if you're sitting with somebody who's in an MLM, the first question is why, right? Why don't you come do this? You're 10 times more likely to make six figures here. What about real estate investing? Everybody today is a real estate investor. You realize that? Well, I'm investing in real estate. Let's talk through that. Let's talk through that, okay? Because some of you, that sounds sexy, right? It's like, I own real estate, right? Okay, being a slumlord is not sexy, okay? So number one is major leverage. What does that mean, okay? Well, in order to buy real estate, it costs what? Money. A lot of money. And I'm going to show you that in a second, okay? there's a large potential for significant loss. Anybody know people that lost investment properties in the 2008 crisis? Some of you shaking your hands, right? Okay, like you had church filled with the Holy Ghost, okay? An increase in income comes from what? More acquisitions. The only way to grow the income is to continue to acquire the properties. Well, the only way you acquire the property is to continue to get what? More and more debt. More and more debt associated with it, right? So watch this. Here's an example. So I'm going to get into real estate. I don't know if Primerica is what I want to do. I'm going to get into real estate. Let me show you the math. So you buy a $400,000 home, a rental home, $400,000 home. You think, well, I'm going to get $3,000 a month of passive income. I'm going to get $3,000 a month in income from that. That's my plan. Well, if I want to make $100,000 a year in income, I only need 2.5 of these. Well, follow me on this. Okay, so today, if you want to buy a rental property, you need at least 10% down, if not 20 or 30% down. Okay, so what's 10% down on 400 grand? 40G. So you got 40G out of your pocket. Step one. Next is you take a mortgage for 360G, payable at probably 4.5%. So the principal and interest payment is what? $2,000, which leaves you how much? $1,000. The rent is $3,000. You got to pay $2,000 back out to the mortgage company, so you're left with $1,000. But you don't always get $1,000, right? Because guess what? People break stuff. You ever realize that any of you own a home? Does it cost money to maintain it? Yes. Okay. So watch what happens. Let's say it's $200. What are you left with? $800 a month. For what? 40 grand out of your pocket and a note for 360 that you owe 2G a month on, whether you have a renter or not. Right? Does that make sense? So to me, that looks like a lot of risk for $800. Right? Does that make sense? If you wanted to make $8,000 a month net profit this way, how many you need? 10. How much mortgage debt you need? 3.6 mil. Or if you did it with no mortgage, you'd get to keep more of the money, but you need 400 grand. So you need $1 million down with no mortgage to get your 8 grand a month, right? Does that make sense? Everybody following that? So you need some big money sitting out there. Well, take a look. What if you were an RVP? You're an RVP, you were at 130% contract, okay? And you're overriding a district leader at 50%. What's your spread? 80. 80. And you got a district writes 5 grand a month, right? Well, 5 grand times 80% is what? 4,000 a month. Let's say your district leader has 50% QBI. He's a hack, okay? He's sucking it up out there. You still got how much? 2 grand a month. How much you have to pay to get that district leader? Zero. Unless you sponsored their IBA, which you shouldn't do, you paid 124, right? Okay. You paid 0. And you got 2.5 times more in residual income from recruiting one guy, getting him to district who does 5 grand a month, than you would get 2.5 times, right? Which would be the same as you taking $1 million and buying $1 million worth of rental property. One district leader, y'all, doing 5 grand's worth of $1 million invested in rental property to each and every one of you. You understand that? One district leader doing 5 grand is the equivalent in residual recurring income to you having $1 million worth of rental property. People say, Pruk, why don't you invest your money in real estate? Because I ain't dumb. Right? 'Cause I ain't dumb. That don't look good to me. And for those of you who do, God bless you, but understand, right? Listen, if I want to increase my income another 4 grand a month, what do? Get another district. How much did it cost me, Gina? 0. Right? If I want to increase another 4 grand, what do? Get another one. How much it cost me? 0. Right? I can just keep getting. How many can you get? Unlimited. You can have unlimited. Ian, how do you make $100,000 a month in residual income, go on vacation 4 months a year? By what? Getting districts, right? Getting districts who then promote to their own RVPs. And watch this. This is what's crazy. This is what's crazy. Okay? With Primerica, you have the exponential growth. You have this upside. So there's unlimited upside, but with no additional costs. Watch this. I'm going to go speak in Southfield in a second. Another office. We got RVPs down there. Now, when I promote them to RVP, right, and they're out doing business, if I get money from that, right? But how much do I pay for that office? 0. I don't pay one office lease. I don't pay for a square of toilet paper. in that office. Right? Not one square. Can you spare a square? No. Okay? Some of you will get that. Some of you Seinfeld folks, right? Okay? I don't pay for one thing, but I get all the royalties off that. Now watch, when Travis becomes an RVP, right? And he decides, hey, you know what? I want to move back to Tennessee. He opens a Tennessee office, right? I'm going to make money from that office forever. So it's Don, by the way, right? And how much money is it going to cost Don and I to have Travis open the office? Zero. And so I could open, watch this, I could open 1,000 offices. I could have 1,000 profit centers and never pay for them. I have unlimited upside, but no expanse and downside. In fact, at some point, I'll have so many RVPs, I won't even have this office. I'll sell this building, shut it down, I'll have no expense, not one penny, but I'll be overriding 1,000 locations. Unlimited upside, no risk, no downside. Folks, look what's happening on my RV. You see that? I got dadgum goosebumps thinking about this right now. My goodness, right? Increased revenue does not equal additional expenses. I've never seen a business like that. Name one business on the planet Earth where when you want to go and make more money, you don't have to take any additional expense. Not $1. Not $1. And multi-layers of ownership. Right? John Cooper is about to cross over his ownership threshold this month. He's going to own that code. Listen. Listen, 2 of you are excited. The rest of you, I don't know what that means. Okay, listen. He's going to own He's going to own that business. Right? He could sell it. If he ever sells it, he better sell it to me. Right? Okay? But he can own that business, and his ownership doesn't impact my ownership. Right? He could sell that business, and I'm still going to keep getting the royalties off of the locations underneath him. Right? There's multiple layers of ownership. So when I recruit Jordan, and Jordan's a stud, he doesn't ever have to leave to be me. He can be me in the structure. It's a permanent override system. You build once, you have forever. Folks, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So what is this, really? Folks, this is the mother load. This is the dadgum mother load. Right? What are you thinking about? Like, I don't got time for Primerica. You know what I'm looking at you and you're saying, I don't have time for the mother load, Ian. I'm so busy getting nowhere that I don't have time for the mother load. Folks, this is wealth upon wealth for those of you who get it. But you can't just be in the right place at the right time. You got to have the right vision, the right place, the right time, and you're the right person. So the question is, do you recognize your mother load? It's sitting in front of you tonight. It's called Primerica. Unlimited upside with no downside expense and expenses, multiple layers of ownership, people who get people, and exponential growth where eventually you'll never have to recruit again, and hundreds and then thousands of people a month will join your team, get licensed, make sales for which you receive a recurring income forever, can sell that income source, and it costs you $124 that you get back, for goodness sake, right? That's a mother load. So let me ask you, if you found the mother load, would you tell somebody? Yeah. Would you tell somebody that you found the mother load? Let me ask you, who are you going to tell tonight? No, listen, for real, who are you going to tell tonight that I found the mother load? Listen, when you leave here tonight, you got to get on that phone and you got to call some people, right? And some of you, listen, some of you be like, I want to come by and show you something, it might be part-time, and you're like, I don't know why it's not working. Listen, I found the mother load, I'm coming over tomorrow, you need to see this. What is it? Boom! Right? And you're there. Folks, convinced people. You found the mother load. So the question is, who are you going to tell? And my last thing that I want you to do is there's a moment right now that we have. There's a moment right now that we have that's going to increase the value of the mother load system that you built. Okay, and that's this company breaking every record that's ever been broken. Listen, right now, this team is about to make history. We're going to crack $100 billion in insurance sales this year for the first time in history. We're going to do it's not been done before. And listen, this just came out, so I want you all to text that number. I'm going to give you 2 instructions, then I got to leave. You need to text that number. And this is a number, this is going right to Glenn Williams, our CEO. And he said he wants to know, what's everybody's unreasonable commitment? to take this over the goal line. Folks, listen. I talked to Glenn. I was with him 2 days ago. He said, we're at 98 billion all day long. 98 billion all day long. We're probably going to do 99 billion with the current trajectory. But 100 is going to take everybody playing. It's going to take everybody digging deep. It's going to take each person playing their part. It's going to take the power of one. Right? Listen, if everybody just in this room put their name on one deal, and the next 10 days, it's done. Right? Our part's done. And some of you are going to do 10. Some of you are going to do 10. Some of you are going to do more than 10. But listen, what's your unreasonable commitment? And I want you to text this and tell Glenn, tell our head coach, Glenn, this is this is what you can count on me for. How many families? Right? Everybody can do one, but you could probably do 3 or 5 or 8. How many can you do? And I want you to text that, and I want you to hashtag underneath it, relentless. And let him know which team. I want him to be flooded with this message. Right? Flooded. I want him to be so tired of reading what Team Relentless is going to do. He knows the team has the coach's back, right? Y'all excited about that? Yeah. Listen, what we're going to do in the next 10, 11 days here is going to be unprecedented. And we're going to lock and load for the month of November. We're going to break every record we've ever broken. Guys, listen, now's the time. This is the time for you to do something big. You're part of a winning team. You're a part of a championship organization, and we're about to take the championship to a whole nother level as a company, man. Let's get out on the field. How dare we sit on the sidelines, watch like Waterboy, right? Okay, get out there and play. Don't be Bobby Boucher. Get out on that field and get it done, right? How many of you are in for at least one? Listen, send Glenn this message. Text him now. God bless you guys. We'll see you at the top.